Can you imagine a mainstream newspaper coming out with 2 negative articles about the Diabetes Association one day after another? Well, that's what's happened. So I never thought I'd say this about The Guardian, but they're actually doing some good work. They're coming out with some articles about some of the problems in the Diabetes Association. And today's, I think, warrants a video. So let's have a look at it. So she was fired for not endorsing Splenda-filled salads to people with diabetes. Why? Oh my goodness. Okay, so someone was fired from the Diabetes Association because they didn't endorse Splenda-filled salads. All right, so let's have a look. Elizabeth Hanna says she was fired by the American Diabetes Association after refusing to approve recipes heaped with the additive made by a major donor. And I think that's the key here. Made by a major donor. Okay. So Elizabeth Hanna had a simple job: help people with diabetes figure out what to eat. Anyone with common sense knows this should probably not entail foods that might increase people's risk of getting diabetes. Yeah, that would be a good thing to take into consideration. But that's not necessarily the thinking at the American Diabetes Association, the world's leading diabetes research and patient advocacy group. They don't do any patient advocacy. They are doing industry advocacy there, which also receives millions of dollars from sponsors in the pharmaceutical, food, and agricultural industries. No conflict of interest here at all. Look the other way, people. Okay, according to a lawsuit Hanna recently filed against the ADA, the organization which endorses recipes and food plans on its website and on the websites of partner food brands, tried to get her to greenlight recipes that she believed flew in the face of the ADA's mission. These included recipes like cucumber and onion salad, made with, that sounds delicious, doesn't it? Cucumber and onions, who wouldn't want to eat that? Made with 1/3 of a cup of Splenda granulated artificial sweetener. And if cucumber and onion wasn't nice enough, imagine tipping 1/3 of a cup of Splenda all over it. Delicious. Hold me back. Autumnal sheet pan veggies with 1/4 cup of Splenda monk fruit sweetener and a cranberry almond spinach salad with 1/4 cup of Splenda monk fruit sweetener. My mouth is watering right now. This is unbelievable. Okay. Guess which company gave more than $1 million to the ADA in 2022? Splenda. Hanna, a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and certified diabetes care and educational specialist with 16 years of experience in the field of medical nutrition therapy. How long is this sentence? According to the lawsuit, says the ADA, and in particular the Nicole Johnson, the ADA's vice president, is that her pronouns, is it? The Nicole Johnson, the ADA's Vice President of Operations for the Science and Healthcare Division, a former Miss America who has traded upon the dreams and aspirations of people with diabetes to reach fame and fortune, pressured her to endorse what she believed were unhealthy and unethical claims. Come on, what's wrong with cucumber, onion, and Splenda? Hanna refused, according to the lawsuit, and complained internally. She was fired in October of last year in what she believes was an act of retaliation and silencing. Her lawsuit also alleges that a higher-up, apparently conscious that her prior statements would not support a poor performance finding for Hanna, fraudulently altered, modified, and or destroyed a performance review. The ADA denies the allegations made in Hanna's lawsuit. Of course they do. Okay, so without reading any further, here's my take on this. It's probably not an evil conspiracy. It's probably that the person in charge of Hanna, the person Hanna was reporting to, is like, I don't like people like you that don't take orders and ask questions and are critical of me and put my bonus this year in jeopardy by criticizing me and potentially making people think I'm not doing my job properly. So Hanna, out you go. Take some cucumbers and onions and hit the road, Jack. It's my way or the highway. That's what I think's probably happened. Anyway, so the Nicole Johnson is probably, not the. I mean, she's been a Miss America, so she's probably a little bit up herself. If she's been in all these, she's been glamorous before or something. Anyway, the Hannah lawsuit should be read against the backdrop of the global diabetes and obesity epidemics. The United States has some of the best medical research institutions in the world, and other countries look to us for guidance on how best to treat diseases such as diabetes. But as someone who was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 3 years ago, I can attest that the dietary and medicinal guidance one gets from doctors and the ADA can be worse than the condition. So I'm having trouble reading this because I'm just looking at this going, hang on. And I'm not sure I'm a friend of Hannah either. So listen to this. Let's go back a couple of paragraphs up to here. So Hannah, a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and certified diabetes care and education specialist with 16 years experience. Let's go back down here again. But as someone who was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 3 years ago, I can attest to the dietary and medicinal guidance one gets from the doctors and the ADA can be worse than the condition. But you're an education specialist with 16 years experience. If you're so good, Hannah, how did you get diabetes in the first place? Anyway, the result is, but the point is the ADA. The result is what the former head of the World Health Organization has called a slow motion disaster that led to the deaths of 2 million people in 2019. 2 million people. And the ADA is recommending people eat cucumber and onion salad with Splenda on top. Good job. Hannah filed her lawsuit against the ADA in New Jersey in November. Her lawsuit paints a picture of an organization more beholden to its corporate benefactors than the 127 million Americans with diabetes or pre-diabetes. You think? Echoing the kinds of criticisms that you can read in online diabetes forums where one person charges the ADA with existing in service of physicians, sponsors, and not patients. You think? They are in the business of selling pharmaceutical and nutritional products. It's in their best interest for people to remain sick. You think? Okay. Another complains, I truly believe that the entire medical establishment, including the ADA, wants to keep diabetics diabetic in order to continue to reap the revenue paid for prescriptions every year. Sounds pretty close to the mark. That might sound harsh. Yet according to Hannah's lawsuit, the ADA went through no less than 4 individuals in the Director of Nutrition position since 2019 and no less than 3 individuals in the Associate Director of Nutrition position since 2020. How long are these job titles? With previous ADA nutritionists allegedly fired or driven out after refusing to comply with what they believed were unethical and unscientific demands. The lawsuit goes on to suggest that companies such as Splenda had a direct line to the ADA's highest authorities. 100% they did. 100%. They're schmoozing. They're on the phone with them all the time. They've got their personal emails. They're taking them out for dinner. They're doing all the stuff because this is big business. 100%. After Hannah declined to approve recipes she considered inappropriate according to her lawsuit, an ADA colleague advised her that Splenda would escalate the issue to the ADA's Chief Executive Officer, Chris Henderson, but instead it appears that Splenda raised the issues with Robert Gabay, MD, Dr. Barb, Chief Scientific Officer of the Science and Healthcare Division. Of course, if you don't do it, I'm telling your mum. Hannah later learned that Splenda refused to make the suggested changes to bring the recipes into conformity with nutritional science and continued to demand approval. What is this? Junior high school? No, you said you are, but what am I? This is just The Splenda arrangement, the lawsuit argues, was simply a scheme to defraud the American people by approving and endorsing recipes submitted by Splenda, when the ADA knew that those recipes were contrary to well-established and emergent scientific principles. Yes, this is all about money. Yes. In 1976, researchers discovered sucrose, a highly sweet-tasting chemical compound that they dubbed sucralose. Splenda successfully marketed sucralose as a sugar substitute since 1991. Splenda had sold more than 100 billion yellow packets, the brand's website boasts, and has become by far the most popular artificial sweetener in the US. Splenda also sells sugar substitutes derived from natural sources such as monk fruit and stevia. Sucralose is far more concentrated than sucrose, the compound in table sugar. The human body cannot metabolize sucralose like sugar, so it passes it through without the body absorbing its calories. Sucralose is mixed with fillers to create Splenda, which contains fewer calories than sugar and is allowed to be marketed as a calorie-less sugar substitute, though it does contain some calories. Whatever. Calories are not a thing. But the point is they're creating basically poison which just passes through your body. So it tastes sweet, but it passes through your body and doesn't get absorbed. Okay, so the damage is already done. Because of the sweet taste, your body's reactions, I think it's called the cephalic response, it gets insulin ready so that it can be there as soon as you ingest sugar, which it's anticipating, and now you've created this this spike in insulin in your body for no reason, but you've still created this problem in your body. So let's keep going. A large share of Splenda's consumers are people with diabetes. Splenda advertises its sweetness as a tool for wellness generally and diabetes management specifically. In a press release this January celebrating Splenda's 25th anniversary, happy anniversary guys, Ted Gelov, the chair and CEO of Heartland Food Products Group, Splenda's parent company, said, Heartland sounds so wholesome. This anniversary is not just about our brand, it's about the countless individuals who have trusted Splenda to be part of their health and wellness journey. Yet where are they? Where are those people? Yet research has suggested that Splenda may wreak havoc on gut biome health and lead to increased glucose intolerance in a way similar to regular sugar. In fact, just last summer, at the very same time Hannah was battling with her bosses, the ADA's own journal Diabetes Care published a study drawn from 13 years of data from 105,000 participants that concluded that there were positive associations between artificial sweetener intakes and increased type 2 diabetes risk that strengthened the evidence that these additives may not be safe sugar alternatives. That was one sentence. 2 sentences. That was 2 sentences. So, yes. The World Health Organization has said that non-sugar sweeteners such as Splenda may contribute to the risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and mortality in adults. According to the CDC, as Hannah's lawsuit cites, high blood sugar levels can put a person with diabetes at risk of diabetic ketoacidosis or DKA, which can cause coma or death. Hannah's lawsuit says that she told higher-ups at the ADA that she was uncomfortable endorsing recipes that promoted the use of non-nutritive sweeteners like Splenda sprinkled on whole foods like vegetables and beans, that the ADA's own guidelines banned approval of recipes that use non-nutritive sweeteners on whole foods, and that she said her team had only approved Splenda-based recipes in the past in situations in which the non-nutritive sweeteners were being used to cut down on sugar and calories. There is no reason other than taking Splenda's money for the ADA to recommend that people with diabetes add massive amounts of Splenda to cucumber salad. Delicious! Hannah's complaint argues. In response to questions about the Splenda lawsuit, the ADA said it cannot comment on ongoing litigation. Or, are you just embarrassed to do it, ADA? Are you just embarrassed to do it? Send Stacey out. Get her to explain. Everyone will listen to her. The Splenda affair is far from the first time the ADA was caught with its hand in the corporate cookie jar. In 2006, the New York Times published an investigation into the ADA's entanglement with the pharmaceutical and food companies. In the article, the ADA's chief medical officer boasted that the organization had turned down millions of dollars in prospective fees from various food companies interested in forging partnerships. We tightened things up quite a bit, Richard Kahn, the then organization's chief executive and medical officer, said. Clearly you have. You've been tightening like crazy. Well, not exactly. In fact, at the time, the ADA had just inked a $1.5 million sponsorship with Cadbury Schweppes, the world's largest confectioner. Maybe the American Diabetes Association should rename itself American Junk Food Association, said one consumer advocate. Well, I think it's very clear. American Diabetes Association is the pro-diabetes association. It's got nothing to do with avoiding diabetes. They want to give you diabetes. If they cure diabetes, every one of those people are out of a job. There's no one at the American what are they going to do? If there's no diabetes in America, what are they going to do? Clean? It's like make recipes. Okay. So, Khan next offered one of the most startling comments about nutrition and diabetes one will ever read. There is not a shred of evidence that sugar per se has anything to do with diabetes, he told. So Dr. Khan? Richard Khan, you belong in the Dr. Allo School of Medicine. Okay, last year, the ADA signaled it still has not lost its appetite for carbohydrate-rich foods. In March of 2023, it announced a partnership with Idaho Potato Commission that made Idaho potatoes the first vegetable to be included in the ADA's Better Choices for Life program. Okay. Yeah, of course, because there's nothing better than consuming vegetables that starches that become sugar as soon as you put them in your body. Good job, ADA. With the mission to prevent and cure diabetes, improve the lives of all people affected by diabetes, the number one question the ADA receives is, what can I eat? The Idaho Potato Commission... I love their name. The Idaho Potato Commission press release read, many wrongly believe that you cannot eat potatoes. You can eat potatoes, you just shouldn't eat potatoes. The release goes on to recommend that potatoes should be prepared with the skins on and should be baked or boiled, not fried. Yeah, it's the frying that's the problem. That's it. It's the frying. It's not the potatoes themselves. Some clinicians say that it is terrible nutritional advice. Potatoes are a starch, and starches are simply chains of glucose or sugars. Mariel Glant, a Harvard-trained endocrinologist who prescribed a low-carbohydrate diet to her patients in the Bronx, told me, since diabetes is an intolerance to sugar, potatoes tend to make the diabetes worse. Good point. Finally, a normal person. For people with diabetes, a potato is a potato. The Idaho Potato Commission donated between $150,000 and $499,000, is $500 the cutoff or something, to the ADA. According to a recent annual report, the Commission is the only one of the ADA's top 35 donors that sells a vegetable. Interesting. The other 34 sell slop disguised as food. One hopes that Elizabeth Hanna's lawsuit helps put an end to the ADA's practice of taking money from food companies that sell products that can harm people with diabetes. Thanks to the journalistic mavericks such as Gary Tobbs and Nina Teicholz, there is already a vocal public that thinks the ADA is making reckless food recommendations. Yes! In a recent post on Tobbs and Teicholz's Substack publication, Unsettled Science, Teicholz poked fun at the recent ADA video featuring its current Director of Nutrition and Wellness, Hannah's successor in other words, recommending that people with diabetes fill a full quarter of their plate with carbohydrate-rich foods. The ADA video, this is Stacy! The ADA video, which had nearly 2 million views, elicited a torrent of negative online reactions. Teicholz noticed quite a few of the comments wondered the obvious. Why tell diabetics to eat starches when one could well determine diabetes as a simple condition of carbohydrate intolerance? One commenter suggested adding a Coke to complete the meal. Probably Stacey would have recommended that if Coca-Cola is one of their 35 top donors. The United States is a country where cereal companies market their sugary products to children. Local news shows promote 7-Eleven's Slurpee Day. Vegetables are scarce in many neighborhood stores, and nearly 70% of American adults are considered overweight or obese. Diabetes, whether type 1 or type 2, is a serious and sometimes life-threatening condition that is directly tied to America's dietary dysfunction. The ADA did not cause the problem. Elizabeth Hanna's whistleblower lawsuit, however, suggests that the organization's nutritional advice is actually making it worse. I would agree. If you don't want to get diabetes, or you want to reverse your diabetes, then I strongly suggest you stay away from the American Diabetes website and you restrict carbohydrate from your diet, which is something that the Diabetes Association in Australia is starting to do. And if you want to see what the fight has been like in Australia to get to this point, check out this video next.